At the end of the day, we're nearly 10 years outside of 9/11. And New York State, New York City, we're not where we should be. And we've got to work together across partisan lines to make sure that, A, we get our fair share of federal funding and that we're doing everything we can to secure our soft underbelly. Because it's increasingly likely that a small group of well-financed people are going to be able to enact and exact enormous damage. And if that means New York City, that can be catastrophic because you have 19 guys with box cutters that change our global history. Specifically on Sharia law and the culture of jihad, Nanya's going to talk about her experiences, I think 32, 33 years growing up in a culture where from a very young age she was taught to hate not only Israel but the United States of America. And we have to understand our enemy. And this isn't Republican, this isn't Democrat. We have to understand that outside of Jerusalem, New York City is terrorist target number one. And we better begin to understand if it cannot be logical, fine, but we better understand why people hate us and begin to do something about it to protect ourselves.
This is something that Pete King seems to have done on the national level. How is this, and he's come under criticism for that. Is this different from what Congressman King has tried?
Our hearing is really dealing with a wide range of issues, from electromagnetic pulse devices to radio interoperability, the fact that now, nearly 10 years after 9/11, our first responders still can't communicate the way they should, and yes, on the culture of jihad, but we're not focusing specifically or only on one area. We're focusing on a wide range of areas.
Any concern about the sensitivity involved in this? Some people, might misinterpret it or take it the wrong way in terms of...
Specifically to Senator Parker, for 3 weeks now, more actually, I've reached out to individual members and asked for their input from I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat. If we get hit, we are all in the same boat, and we got to work together as New Yorkers. And I've asked for input. I bumped into Senator Parker now probably a dozen times in the elevator, in session. Never once has he offered any suggestion of who should testify. This is complete political charade, and to this moment, if he wants to have somebody testify in opposition or on another issue, I would welcome it. We've got to get our act together. Nearly 10 years after 9/11, and we are still not secure. We've made progress, but we're not where we should be. That's what we need to focus on. I mean, geez, many plots have been thwarted. We've had domestic terrorism, and if you were a part of a terrorist cell, there's no doubt that you would look at the anniversary of 9/11 as being a prime target and a prime date. And we should not be playing politics with any of this.
And, he says you haven't responded at all in person. What's your response to that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I just think that this witch hunt is not appropriate. We represent, in New York City and New York State, the largest population of both Arab Americans and Muslims in the entire country. I think that broad brush painting them as terrorists is not what America's about, certainly not what the state legislature should be about. I and my community represent, the largest Pakistani community outside of Pakistan in the world, many of which are Muslims, probably the vast majority of which are Muslims, and certainly I'm offended knowing those folks who are, teachers and doctors and lawyers and businessmen and mothers and fathers are concerned about American safety as much as everybody else. And so we were, in fact, doing a hearing just to look at, Homeland Security and safety 10 years after 9/11, I certainly would celebrate that and think that that was appropriate. But when you look at who are selected as members of this, body, to testify, certainly it's not appropriate when you have people who have no Homeland Security, no anti-terrorism background, but their whole stock and trade has been to, say, anti-Islamic references and to, denigrate Muslims. Certainly not appropriate. Certainly does not help to racially profile Muslims in terms of a Homeland Security perspective.
Senator Ball insists that it's primarily just to understand extremism and understand terrorism. Do you believe him?
Well, I don't. But if that's the case, then how come we didn't, look at extreme Christianity when Timothy McVeigh blew up the Oklahoma federal building, right? I mean, there's lots of extremism all over the country in many different forms. This is plain and simple racial profiling of Muslims. I think it's inappropriate. I think that something that I'm not going to stand for, and I think many members of this body are not going to stand for quietly.
And specifically, when you said that he reached out to you and asked for advice, is that the case?
That did never happen. If he reached out, he did so in the most silent manner ever.
Alrighty.